Hey guys, welcome back. I'm back in my leather room again. I'm jumping on those projects that I talked about the other day. I lost a bunch of footage, so I'm gonna have to just show you where I'm at right now, and then we'll catch back up. This was that holster that I showed you that was just basically a 3-point. All I did was I added a spot here where I could hook it onto my belt and I know it doesn't match. I don't care. I'm after functionality. With this here, and I just needed to be able to snap this bottom side to my belt so that when I drew from it, it wasn't pulling holster and all. That way it's locked down here and it's where it needs to be. So that one has been hanging over here drying, and I don't know what happened to the footage. We'll worry about that later. Maybe this will stay put. This was that chest rig I was showing you. And I've got the front pieces done on it right here. And just a little bit of light tooling. I started on the straps that connect on the back side. And I've got a little bit of tooling work done on that. And I'll show you in detail how I do that here in a minute. And I just wanted to kind of catch you up to where I'm actually at, since kind of starting in the middle of nowhere here. But I'll get you tuned in here and get you a close-up on how I do my tooling on this leather, and we'll go from there. Alright, what I've got here is the two connecting straps that'll run from the hip side back around to those that I've got on the front. I think I talked a little bit about how I dampen these down with just a sponge. You know, I don't soak them under the fountain or anything like that, but you just, leather, once it gets wet, it gets pliable. It holds anything you're stamping onto it or anything like that. And what I do here with these is I normally take just a little old scribe and I mark a line down the edge here, and that just gives me something to run off of. And you can see that little line there, and it's just giving me a gauge as to how to stay in pattern with what I'm doing here. And all that right there is done with these two tiny little bitty tools right here. These are craft tools. This one is a number 706, and they have just hundreds and thousands of these little craft tools, and these are just leather stamps. And I've got a small handful, but over the years I've thinned down to what I use the most, and I got rid of the other 100 and some odd ones that I have, because if you get into doing floral work and a little detail, just every one of them, this is called pretty much a little mule's foot. Focus. And the number on it is, I'm blind as a bat, it looks like uniform 858. And I just kind of do these in sequence, back and forth, and you don't want a heavy mallet or anything for stamp work. This is kind of the Teflon nylon type. This is actually a Al Stroman brand little hammer here, and I just take a little old tool here and follow this line, and it's kind of tedious. And I run that one, and I go back and run that one, and I go back and run this one. It's just a very dull, boring process, and just make my way all the way around. And I'm going to knock both of these out here, so I'm going to speed this up so it's not as boring for you guys, and then we'll get carrying on to getting these straps mounted over here and getting them stained and everything else. Now, for any of you professional leather guys out there, you want to bash me, you can. I'm not a professional. I just tinker with this. I do a lot of it for myself. I'm not really selling much. I'm not after perfection. I'm just doing what I'm doing for me, and I'm sharing what little bit of knowledge I have, which is not much about leather, and take it with a grain of salt. But I was just looking for a little bit of a an edging on this. You can actually measure all this out to where it comes out exactly even and whatever and all. I'm not into that. I'm after functionality with this stuff, so that's what I'm doing for me. You can get a lot of these tools and leather and stuff at a place called Tandy Leather. I started out buying my stuff there, and not to bash Tandy, but in my opinion, the quality's not really there. If you want good quality leather, you need to buy Herman Oak leather. I've had the best experience with that personally. I've always got most all that from a place called Springfield Leather Company in Missouri. They used to be about 3.5 hours from where we lived down south, and it was super handy and convenient for me to be able to run up there and put my hands on what I was buying and not just letting somebody ship me something in the mail. But I'm rambling on. I got this one knocked out here real quick. I've got to get this one tooled before I go off in it too far. I do have a brand that I try to stamp in my pieces just so if ever I run into it somewhere else down the road years later. This is just a little rough rawhide mallet, and like always with anything leather, you're not going to want to use any kind of a steel hammer on any of this stuff, and that just stamps in my Springfield Leather actually made that stamp for me too, so they've done a lot for me. They've been good folks, and I'm going to continue on with this other one. It's going to be time to take a break and eat some lunch. Alright, the two straps that's going to be replaced are these two bottom ones that hook plumb back around to this one here. And I've got this one that's going to go on this side, and I'm going to use some copper rivets to set these. So this one won't be adjustable here, it'll be locked down on this side. There will be some adjustment in the play with the buckle here on this far end for maneuverability. I just roughly guessed these about the same length. I use just a standard old hole punch, if you want to call it that. And we're going to want to try to punch that from the front side. It needs to go through front and back. And I'm just rough guessing where that needs to be. Again, this is a personal rig, so I'm not really concerned with everything being pretty. Just getting rough and close. So with that, with these copper rivets, I got the camera turned the other way, I can't even hardly see it myself. That'll just slide in on this back side here. And that stud will pop through, and then I've got a little washer that'll go on that, and I'll smash it down, cut this top side off, and then smooth that out. Kind of like these right here are already, but I just needed to pop them holes before I go to dyeing it. I'm gonna fall right in the name, but that's alright. We got it on every face. We'll find it. I think we know who made it anyway. Some buddies made the holster here in town. They do quite a bit of that up here. And I told them I was going to swap it over and do some leather straps on it. So I got to finish this up, take by and show them, because they're going to want to see it. And we're going to slap some dye on it. And this is how I set these little copper rivets. They look a little something like that with the washer. This is a little Osborne copper rivet setting tool. Lord, that's a mouthful. Seems like anyway. Just run this in. Pops it out. Just a little flat copper washer that sits on top here. I got this little old raggedy anvil that I've used for a long time doing this. There's just a hole inside that sits over that. There's different sizes. And that sets that rivet. Cut your tip off, or you can just mushroom it with the other side of the tool here. I like to cut them off and then just beat them down with a hammer. Watch your eyeballs, because they go flying and they're everywhere. I've got this old ball peen here. Is that rough on the ears or what? But that ain't coming apart. It's not going to rust out. And I'll set them other three. I'm sure you don't want to listen to the beating and banging of that. And we'll get closer to getting these straps back on it and hooking those up on the rig. Well, did anybody else catch my fatal error? And I put the copper rivet in before I attached it. I had to go drill that other copper rivet out and start over again. But I came back in here and I've got these two back here on. Now I still got these two straps up here to do. So, might as well get started on those. And there you go. One chest rig with leather straps. Now she just needs some wear, so she'll loosen up. I'll get some oil on it, some neat's foot, make it a little bit more plush, a little bit softer. And make a little bit of racket for the bears to hear you a little bit better. It's nice and comfy, it's convenient, it's cool, it's not hot like those straps. It will be, but I like it. It's quick, easy. These are handy little rigs right here. You can make any that you need to, and you can just interchange. So I've got this for every weapon I own. I just need separate Kydex holsters for every one of them, and they just snap into play. So everything's just right here, good to go. I think it turned out pretty decent. I'm happy with it, and I think that's what matters. That's the important part. And I appreciate you watching this. I'm sure there's probably a couple of questions on this thing, but I'm going to get it oiled and let her sit and bump and move on to the next project. So hope y'all enjoyed that, and we'll catch you on the next one.